So in the last classes, we already have covered some portions. In this class, we are discussing the development and maturation of B cells. So this progenitor B cell will become a mature B cell after 4 or 5 stages, which are shown in this particular diagram. All right. So first they will make a pro B cell, then pre-immature, and then through the naive B cells, they will finally become the mature B cell. So all these stages are antigen independent stages. All right. And the arrow is showing something. So up to here, up to this immature B cell, this development of B cells are happening in the bone marrow, which is completely antigen independent. And then they will move into the peripheral organs, or called secondary lymphoid organs, where they will face the real antigens, and finally they will mature into the B cells, right? So this is showing large details. So we will move back to this particular diagram. So actually it is showing mature B cell here, but actually the immature B cell stays is antigen independent, then it will move into the peripheral lymphoid organs or the secondary lymphoid organs, as it is shown here also, but little controversy in these two diagrams is shown in this particular group. All right, you need to understand this. Actually, this immature B cell will move into this secondary lymphoid organ, or in the other form, you can understand this. You can call it a mature B cell, and it will leave the bone marrow. Finally, it will move into the secondary lymphoid organs, where it will find some antigens, real antigens, and it will lead to the activation and differentiation of these mature B cells in the secondary lymphoid organs. So it is, number is also written here, 5 to 10 power 6 per cells, B cells, which are, you can say them mature because they can leave the bone marrow and they are going into the secondary lymphoid organs to face the antigens. All right. So this much of cells are moving per day. These naive B cells, now actually the real term which we have understood from the last diagram, naive B cell stays, we will call them naive cells when they are coming in these secondary lymphoid organs. They will find some antigens, and then they are selected. Almost 10% of them will survive, otherwise they will die by apoptosis. We know this, we have discussed our previous classes a lot about all these events, how large population of either B cells or T cells will die by apoptosis. Only a few cells, a little percentage, 5 to 10% will survive, and they are responsible for defending our body against any kind of threat. Finally, they have become activated B cells because the antigen will activate them, and then they will show large number other receptors also over their surface. All right. Then there are two major phenomena, major processes which are happening here. One is called class switching, and one is called affinity maturation. So, what is the meaning of these two terms? First, I will disclose this, and then I hope you have previously knowing this, but if not, I will tell you the details. All right. So the class switching is actually the activated B cells or the mature B cells are having only IgD or IgM antibodies, which are working as B cell receptors over the surface of these B cells, right? But class switching means when these activated B cells are differentiating into the plasma cells, their size will increase. Why their size is increasing? Because there are some morphological changes which are happening inside the cells because they are differentiating. In this process of becoming the plasma cell from this B cell, they will lost their B cell receptors or antibody molecules which are present over the surface, right? Second thing is, if you look into this and this cell, there is no endoplasmic reticulum and Golgi apparatus shown in this particular diagram. So B cells are having very neglected Golgi body and endoplasmic reticulum, mainly rough endoplasmic reticulum, which is attached to the ribosomes, right? But in plasma cells, the rough endoplasmic reticulum and Golgi complex is pronounced, means they are having a better proportion. Why so? Because they need to secrete the antibody molecules, and antibodies are glycoproteins. So first of all, the ribosomes, which are attached to the rough endoplasmic reticulum, need to synthesize these proteins, and then they will be glycosylated into the Golgi bodies. Finally, they will be secreted out of these plasma cells. Plasma cells can secrete a large number of antibodies. So any one of you can give a number which is secreted by the plasma cells, number of antibody molecules. I have discussed several times that how many number of antibodies are secreted by plasma cells. This is a huge number. So they can secrete 100 up to 1000. All right. And this number of antibody molecules per second. Amazing. So actually the number of antibody molecules which are secreted per second is huge. They can secrete up to 1000 antibodies per second, these plasma cells. So they are going to synthesize a large number of antibody molecules, and then they are going to secrete them. Finally, they are differentiating into the two type of cells. One is differentiated plasma cells, and second is memory B cells. So memory B cells will be required when the same antigen or pathogen are going to infect second time or subsequent time. उसके बाद फिर से अगर same infection होता है, then memory B cells are going to take role. But during primary response, they are only synthesized and stored. Now the second term is affinity maturation. What is the meaning of affinity maturation? So the antibody affinity is already decided before any antigenic challenge. So from this diagram, we understand this. Actually, the B cell is having these antibody molecules over their surface. So they are called B cell receptors. But this is an antigen independent phase in which these antibody molecules are coming over these B cell surfaces, right? So actually, the affinity is already decided, and this is a huge number. All right, so they can recognize a large number of antigenic epitopes or antigen molecules. Affinity maturation means if it is having near about affinity so that it can recognize some new antigen or epitope, what will happen? There are some gene rearrangements which will lead to the antibody production with the higher affinity, so that the antibody molecules which are expressed over the B cell surfaces are of even higher affinity. They can efficiently bind with the new antigens or the epitope. So this affinity maturation and class switching both are very important processes which are actually happening in the secondary lymphoid organs. So that, okay. So actually we were discussing these peripheral lymphoid organs. We can classify lymphoid organs in the two groups. One is central or primary. Second is secondary or peripheral. So one peripheral organ, so before actually two students are new in this class. So the two primary lymphoid organs are bone marrow and thymus. Bone marrow in which the B cells are maturing. All right, so they are developed and they are maturing in the bone marrow. But the T cells, they will move. So this diagram is little clear and it is given in your Pathfinder. So these are hematopoietic tissues. This is bone marrow. So the T cell precursor, they are developing into the bone marrow, but they will move into the thymus and where they will mature into a T cell, right? So actually the T cells are maturing into the thymus, therefore they are called T cells. T for thymus and B for bone marrow. All right. These two tissues are primary lymphoid organ, or you can call them central, right? Whereas the other tissues, for example, spleen, lymph nodes, MALT means mucosa associated lymphoid tissue, or gut associated lymphoid tissue, all these are peripheral lymphoid organs. So they are secondary or peripheral lymphoid organs. So the secondary lymphoid organs we already have covered lymph nodes. All right. In today's class, we are going to cover the spleen, which is very organized secondary lymphoid organ or structure, you can call it. So the mature B and T cell migrate from bone marrow and thymus respectively, the bloodstream to the secondary or peripheral lymphoid organs, because the B and T cells should interact with the real antigens, and these real antigenic challenges can be found only in secondary lymphoid organs. Therefore, mature B cells and mature T cells from bone marrow and thymus respectively, they will move through the blood into the peripheral or secondary lymphoid organs. Now the question is, one we already have discussed, so lymph nodes. Second is spleen, we are going to cover, right? So how so first of all we will see the structure of spleen. All right, so page number, so the second chapter. All right, so this is the bone marrow, our long bones, for example this one, femur, and thymus is a small organ which is situated just above our heart, right? So both are primary lymphoid organs, and once the B cell from the bone marrow and T cell from the thymus, then they are moving into the secondary lymphoid organs. Secondary lymphoid organs are lymph nodes, which are present all over in our body. So they are present everywhere almost. And second is spleen, for example. So spleen is present in the abdominal cavity, in the left abdominal upper cavity, just below heart, you can say the spleen is present. And this is a large secondary lymphoid organ. You can estimate the size of this organ. So this is the largest secondary lymphoid organ. All right. It is also written in your book. So these all are secondary lymphoid organs, including spleen, lymph node, MALT. All right. So spleen and lymph node are highly organized secondary lymphoid organs or tissues, whereas the MALT is a loose term. They are not very much organized, but they include tonsils. All right, Pierce patches. We will discuss all these. All right. So MALT we will discuss, but before that we need to finish the spleen. All right. So the secondary lymphoid organs have two major functions. They are highly efficient in trapping and concentrating the foreign substances. Suppose anything is coming from outside. So if it is in blood, the blood must go into the spleen, and all the antigens which are present in the blood will be entrapped within this particular organ in the spleen. And they are the main site of production of antibodies and induction of antigen specific T lymphocyte. Now you may ask me a question, what is the difference between a spleen or lymph node? So lymph node, okay, before moving into the detail, I told you there are two types of circulatory system in our body. One is blood. So to pump the blood, we are having this pump. All right, this will pump, it will work day and night and continuously pump the blood in complete body. The secondary system, the secondary circulatory system is lymphatic system, in which the lymph is flowing, and from where this lymph is coming actually, it is a part of blood. So the plasma which is leaking out of the blood vessels, it will come into the lymphatic vessels, and through the circulatory system, lymph will move from one organ into the another organ, because when we move our muscles, it will move from one side to other side. Suppose if you wake up after a long sleep, you will see there is some swelling over your face and okay in the organ, if because you do not move those particular organs for a long period of time, the lymph is accumulated and it will give a swelling appearance. All right. If you work and if you continue to move, the lymph will circulate from one body part to another body part along with these muscle movements. All right, because we do not have any kind of pump to to help circulating the lymph. So only our body's movements or the muscle movements are helping this lymph so that it can flow into our second circulatory system. All right. So we have discussed the these lymph nodes. Second is spleen. So if you look at this particular structure, it is showing the lymph nodes are present at most of the sites. All right. So the lymph nodes, and if you look close, this system or this lymphatic system, these lymph nodes are making kinds of connections in this network. All right. So all the antigens which are present in the lymph will be entrapped in the lymph nodes. But suppose there are some antigens which are present in the blood, not in the lymph. So what our body should do? Therefore, we have another secondary lymphoid organs also, other than these lymph nodes. So if the antigen is present in the lymph, it will be entrapped in the lymph node. But if the antigen is actually present in the blood or in the blood circulation, blood will move into the spleen and the antigen will be entrapped in the spleen. Spleen is also known as, so this is one function of spleen. Spleen is also known as graveyard of RBCs. So RBC, after our red blood cells, after 120 days, because they are having this lifespan, they will move into the spleen because blood is continuously flowing in the spleen. And these red blood cells will be disintegrated or destroyed in the spleen. So therefore, the spleen is known as graveyard of our red blood cells. So they will die after 120 days in this particular structure. So this is the second role of spleen. So spleen not only having role in our immune responses, it is also important to remove the dead red blood cells or RBCs. All right. So now we will move into the details of what is the structure of the spleen. It is an oval shaped structure. So you can see this is an oval shaped structure which is actually present in the upper thoracic, upper cavity of this, right, cavity in which our stomach is actually lying. So this was a lymph node, right? So lymph node were having three major, you can divide lymph node into three areas, cortex, paracortex, and medullary region. The cortex is rich in B cells. Paracortex is thymus dependent area, so it is rich in T cells. Medulla may have both type of cells, B cells as well as T cells. This we already have discussed. Then this is the internal structure of this lymph node. So it is having both lymphatic artery and lymphatic vein. As I told you, the lymph nodes are present in the lymphatic network. So all the antigens which are present in the lymph, they can be entrapped in the lymph nodes because the lymph is continuously flowing in these zones in the lymph node, where there are three regions. So B cells, T cells, and medullary region in which both are present. So an antigenic challenge, if recognized, our body or our lymph nodes will mount an immune response against it. But if antigen is present in the blood, the spleen will help in removing this particular antigen or pathogen from the blood. So if you see this structure, so this is our spleen. So spleen is ovoid in structure, but in this diagram, it is very similar to the bean-shaped, kidney shape, right? So it is having supply of splenic artery and splenic vein. Splenic artery is actually the artery in which blood is coming to this particular organ, and vein which will carry the blood out of this organ. So because there is a continuous blood supply, so if antigen is present in the blood circulation, when blood will come into the spleen, spleen will entrap this particular pathogen or antigen. Now there are two regions. You can divide spleen into two major zones. One is red colored structure, so this is called red pulp. Right, it is also written here, so you can easily see this. This is red pulp. And why this is red area? So this red pulp is known as red pulp because it is having these vascular sinusoid-like structures. So why these sinusoids are given here? These are structure where macrophages are abundant, right? If macrophages are there, we know macrophages are phagocytic cells. They will engulf the RBCs which have completed their lifespan. And when they are destroying these RBCs, so they will have the remains of these RBCs. For example, heme and iron pigment. For example, they are present in these sinusoids when they destroy the red blood cells. Therefore, it is also known as red pulp. Second area is the central area, which is actually called white pulp. But this white pulp is made up of multiple things. So it is given here in the form of a bracket. So it is having primary follicle. Primary follicle, I told you the difference between primary and secondary follicle. So the primary follicle is the follicle when it is facing no antigen. So if there is no antigen, it will be called a primary follicle. If antigen will come here and it will activate some of the cells in this follicle, so it will make something like this. So this is called secondary follicle, in which you can see few cells, few large cells in the center also. What are these cells? These are plasma cells or differentiated B cells, which are actually present in the center and continuously secreting the antibody molecules. All right. So the center is called germinal center because the secondary lymphoid, secondary primary follicle, and this is secondary follicle. So secondary follicle is having this germinal center in which it is having plasma cells which are continuously secreting large number of antibody molecules. Then it is having a marginal zone. So this is actually the marginal zone which is ensheathing this structure or this periarterial lymphoid sheath. Now what is this? This is a sheath-like structure which is actually present over these arteries which are coming to the spleen. So these are called splenic arteries. And then finally the blood will move through these veins out of spleen. All right. So now we will understand what is happening exactly, how antigen will come through these splenic arteries and how it will activate different cells so that a complete immune response can be mounted. So also it is having a capsule very similar to the thymus. So we also have seen the capsule in case of thymus and lymph node. And there is connective tissue strands which are going deep into the organ. So these are called trabeculae. Connective tissue strands which are dividing the spleen into the chambers. All right. So what is happening exactly? If you have a doubt from the structure, you can ask. I'm going to discuss the details of the organ and how exactly it will mount an immune response. All right. So first, spleen in an adult is about 5 inches long structure and it is ovoid or bean shaped. So this is actual structure of your spleen. It is the largest secondary lymphoid organ. So you need to underline this. This is the largest secondary lymphoid organ It is specialized for trapping the blood-borne antigen. All right, this is also important because the lymph, if the antigen is present in the lymph, they can be entrapped into the lymph nodes. But if they are present into the blood, they will be entrapped into the spleen. So this is the cross section, right? So everything is written here. Erythrocyte filled red pulp surround the sinusoids. The white pulp form this pulse region, which is periarteriolar lymphoid sheath. Around the arterioles, the sheath contain numerous T cells. Now you need to understand this, what type of cells are present in this organ. So this is splenic artery, all right. The sheath which is coating these arteries, this sheath is made up of T cells. So this is written here, periarteriolar lymphoid sheath. It is coated by T cells. So it is also written here, the pulse, which is contain numerous T cells. But it does not mean the B cells are absent, right? Actually, the T cells are more abundant. Otherwise, all the lymphocytes are present in the primary and secondary lymphoid organs. Closely associated with the pulse is a marginal zone. So this is marginal zone, which is white in color, and it is having these large cells. What are these large cells? These are B cells. So actually, the sheath is rich in T cells. The zone or the marginal zone, which is actually what is the why it is called zone? Because it is separating this red pulp from this white pulp, right? Therefore, it is called marginal zone. And this marginal zone is rich in B cells. So this marginal zone is an area which is rich in B cells that contain lymphoid follicles. All right, so these follicles, primary and secondary follicles, are also present in this marginal zone. Develop into the secondary follicle containing the germinal center. Now, first of all, we will understand what are germinal centers, how they are developed. All right. So the primary follicle, then it will develop into a secondary follicle, and the secondary follicle are having germinal centers in the center. 269. So this diagram is depicting exactly what is happening. So this B cell population is coming into the germinal center. This bracket, this complete box which is having different types of cells is actually the germinal center. Now please understand how these cells are interacting with each other. So this B cell is coming from outside, and when it will come into the germinal center or in the center, it will develop into a big cell. This is called blast cell, centroblast, which is also known as activated B cell. So what will happen after antigenic challenge, the cell will be activated and this B cell will make blast cell. Then, so this is the dark zone. This is where somatic mutation in the proliferating centroblast is happening. Please remember this. In each stage of development, the B cell, or you can call the T cells, means both the lymphocytes, are undergoing some kind of mutations. Why so? Because to increase the affinity so that they can interact more efficiently with the antigen and to a large number of antigen molecules, right? So that they can increase their diversity also. So this mutation is very, very important. So these somatic mutations are continuous. Then it will develop into two types of cells. One is low affinity, one is high affinity. If it is having very low affinity, it will die. There is apoptosis. It will not survive because at least we require the B cells which can recognize and bind efficiently. So the high affinity cells will survive and it will differentiate into the centrocyte, which is having antibody molecules over its surface. So these antibodies will bind with the receptors which are present over these dendritic cells. So these are called follicular dendritic cells, which are having long processes, and over these long processes there are red colors thing which is present. So these red colored things are actually receptors for these antibody molecules. So these antibodies will bind with these antigens which are presented over surface of these dendritic cells. So dendritic cells are the best antigen presenting cells. They're presenting antigens. So our antibodies which are present over B cells or centrocytes, they will bind with these antigens so that they can recognize them. Finally, what will happen, the cells or the centrocytes which are able to recognize the antigen with high affinity will be selected, and then they will interact with the T helper cells. T cells are also interacting. So the T cells will again help these B cells so that they can differentiate into a plasma cell, plasmablast, then plasma cell, and will secrete large number of antibody molecules. One case. In second form, they can make the memory cells, which will be stored and they will be required when there is a second or subsequent response. All right. So here, because there are large number of antibody molecules are secreted, so the class switching and maturation into the memory and plasma cell is written. Class switching and affinity maturation both will happen. So all these events are actually happening into the germinal center. So therefore it is written here, germinal center. All right. Not only these dendritic cells, also the macrophages are also there in the germinal center. They are going to destroy the apoptotic bodies or those cells which will die during selection process. Okay, so again we will discuss the same structure. Spleen plays a major role in mounting an immune response to the antigens in the bloodstream. It is a large ovoid secondary lymphoid organ situated high in the left abdominal cavity. While lymph nodes are specialized for trapping the antigen from local tissues, the spleen specializes in filtering the blood and trapping the blood-borne antigens. So it is merely responsible for trapping the antigens which are actually present in the blood. अगर कोई एंटीजन ब्लड में प्रेजेंट है, so the spleen will recognize and trap those particular antigens. Thus, it can respond to the systemic infections. अगर blood में कोई भी infection है, then the spleen will going to take care of this particular infection. Unlike the lymph nodes, the spleen is not supplied with the lymphatic vessels. अब प्रॉब्लम क्या है, क्यों ऐसा है? क्योंकि एक्चुअली लिम्फ नोड्स को तो लिम्फ की सप्लाई होती है, लिम्फेटिक वेसल्स होते हैं वहां पे, बट स्प्लीन में कोई भी ऐसे लिम्फेटिक वेसल्स प्रेजेंट नहीं होते. दे आर हैविंग ब्लड सप्लाई. Instead, the blood through the splenic artery, okay, so this blood-borne antigen and lymphocyte are carried into the spleen through the splenic artery. All right. The spleen is surrounded by the capsule that extend the number of projections. These are called trabeculae into the interior to form a compartmentalized structure. So these compartments which are present in the spleen, they are made up of these structures. So these structures are called trabeculae, which are connective tissues actually, which are moving deep into the organ so that it will make the compartments. The compartments are of two types, red pulp and white pulp, which are separated by a diffuse marginal zone. In दोनों के बीच में present होता है marginal zone. So marginal zone is rich in B cells and there are follicles, primary and secondary follicles. All right, so this marginal zone is present between red pulp and white pulp. Now, what is the function of red pulp and white pulp? So the splenic red pulp consists of a network of sinusoid populated by macrophages and numerous red blood cells. क्योंकि यहाँ पे बहुत सारे रेड ब्लड सेल्स होते हैं, एरिथ्रोसाइट्स होते हैं, जिनकी लाइफ स्पैन ऑलमोस्ट पूरी हो गई है. Therefore, it is red in color. Therefore, it is called red pulp. And few lymphocytes. और इनके साथ में क्या प्रेजेंट होते हैं? कुछ lymphocytes होते हैं, B and T cells, B, T and K cells. But majorly यहाँ पे red blood cells होते हैं, RBCs होते हैं, and macrophages होते हैं. So macrophages are going to kill these RBCs. All right, so they are destroyed and removed. So old and defective red blood cells are destroyed and they are removed in the red pulp. ये question directly or indirectly can be asked. So red pulp, because it is the site of destruction of RBCs. Many of the macrophages within the red pulp contain engulfed red blood cells or iron pigments from degraded hemoglobin. All right, because they're going to destroy the red blood cell, therefore iron pigments or degraded hemoglobin is present in the these macrophages, the phagocytic cells. The splenic white pulp surrounded the branches of splenic arteries, forming a pulse region and populated mainly by the T lymphocytes. I already told you this. The pulse is rich in, or the periarterial lymphoid sheath is rich in T cells, which are shown in this particular diagram also. So these small cells which are surrounding these splenic arteries, they are T cells. They are rich in T cells. So this is called pulse because this sheath-like structure is present around splenic arteries. Then there is a marginal zone, and together the follicle, marginal zone, and the pulse region, it is called the white pulp, central white pulp. The initial activation of B and T cells takes place in the T cell rich pulse. Here, interdigitating dendritic cell capture the antigen and present it combined with the class 2 MSC molecules to the T helper cells. Once activated, these T helper cell can activate the B cells. Activated B cell together with some T helper cell then migrate to the primary follicles and marginal zone. Upon antigenic challenge, these primary follicles develop into the characteristic secondary follicles containing germinal centers, as we have seen in the last diagram. All right. So, and these secondary lymphoid, secondary follicles or the germinal centers are very similar, as we have already discussed in case of lymph nodes. We are rapidly dividing B cells, which are called centroblast or the big cells, and the plasma cells are surrounded by the dense clusters of concentrically arranged lymphocytes, because there is large number of lymphocytes which are arranged in the concentric manner. They will surround these activated B cells, which are called blast cells or plasma cells. There is a problem. If you remove the spleen from an adult or from a child, it will lead to different consequences. All right. So the effect of splenectomy. What is splenectomy? To remove the spleen. On the immune responses depend on the age at which the spleen is removed. If you remove spleen at a specific age, so the symptoms which will be developed are different. In children, if you remove the spleen, often lead to an increased incidence of bacterial sepsis, primarily by the Streptococcus pneumoniae, Neisseria, meningitis, Haemophilus influenzae, and so on. Because a large number of pathogens can infect easily if you remove the spleen in the children. But in adults, they are having less adverse effects, although it leads to some increase in the blood-borne bacterial infections. If you remove the spleen in an adult, why so? Why this is a difference? Why there is a difference between an child and adult in the responses if you remove the spleen? They should have the same responses, right? Can anyone answer this, please? Why there is a difference in an adult and child if you remove the spleen? Child is more susceptible to infection, whereas adult will, if you remove in an adult stage, you remove the spleen, they may have infections, they may have bacteremia, but it has less adverse effects. It is written here, they are having less adverse effects. Why this difference? Can you think of this? Anyone, please? I will be happy if you answer. Seema, Hiba, and Ankit is there in the class. Guys, something is coming into your mind. Why there is a difference? Why there is a difference if you remove the spleen of an at a different age? Only the differences in the age, but overall you are removing an organ. Okay, if you will not answer my questions, then I will ask one by one. Hiva, you will tell me why there is a difference if you remove the spleen of an adult and children. Okay, all right, then I will tell. Nobody's wanted to answer this question. All right, so if you do not know, you can say you do not know. But if you know something, you can share with all. If I do not know, okay. So it is very simple actually. How you will say you do not know actually. So as we have discussed the last diagram, so I will move back to page number 269. Why you are taking so much time to say this? If you do not know, then it's fine. I'm here to. Okay, Seema is also not knowing this. Are you curious to know how this is happening? If you remove the spleen of a child or an adult, there are differences. Okay, so the child is more susceptible to any disease, any infection. This is because in the children, in the child, there are very few exposures to any antigen. But if you remove the spleen of an adult, the adult is already have faced a large number of antigenic stimulations. All right. So in the environment, he is continuously throughout his age, means of some uh, 15, 20, or 25 years. All right. So he has faced many antigens, and because of those antigens, his spleen or his secondary lymphoid organs already had made a large number of memory cells, either memory B cells or memory T cells. Therefore, if an adult is undergoing splenectomy, he will not face major infections. But if you remove the spleen in a children in a child, uh, because there are very less memory cells to very few antigens, specific to very few antigens or antigenic epitopes, the child will show the severe infection. All right. So actually, this you can refer this particular flow chart for the same question or the same query, which is showing the germinal center responses. All right. In the germinal center responses, finally, what is happening? The memory cells and plasma cells are forming, and these memory cells will be stored so that they can protect the host. There's one more diagram which is actually showing the class switching. So class switching is everything is dependent upon a kind of signal. So here the signaling molecules are these red ones, right? So these pink or red, whatever you are able to see, these are signal molecules or these are interleukins, which are called cytokines. Cytokines, man, they are secreted by the cells and they are regulating other cells' behavior. So for example, in this case, in case of B cell, these cytokines are very important because they are going to help them proliferate so that they are developing into centrocytes. We require interleukin 2, 4, and 5 so that they are proliferating. Finally, when they differentiate, we require a different set of cytokines. For example, interferon gamma, they will help in the development of IgG2A, IgG3. These are antibodies, type of antibody. We know there are 4 type of IgG, there are 2 type of IgA. So these subset of IgG are made if there is interferon gamma in more amount. If the tumor growth factor or this TGF beta is present in excess, it will lead to the class switching to IgA or IgG2B. All right. Similarly, if interleukin 4 is there, IgE or G1 will form. If there is a combination of the same cytokines which are helping the B cell to proliferate, it will lead to the production of IgM in more number so that antibody M is producing mainly out of plasma cells. So these signaling molecules are very, very important. So they are going to decide the fate of activated B cell or differentiated B cell that is called plasma cell so that it can secrete a kind of antibody molecule. I hope you understand the question, right? So why there are differences if you remove the spleen in an adult or in a child. If you have a query, please ask. So that's it. That's all for spleen. Then we have other secondary lymphoid organs also, for example, malt. So as I told you, malt is a loose term. So malt is actually may have other things also. For example, what can be there? So all right, it is given here. So mucosa associated lymphoid tissue. See in your Pathfinder. This malt is majorly majority of the secondary lymphoid tissue. Why this is written here? Because malt is a huge area. Okay, I will tell you how this is calculated. So the majority of the secondary lymphoid tissue, whereas in case of spleen, it was written that it is the largest secondary lymphoid organ, but here it is showing it in the terms of area. It is the majority of the secondary lymphoid tissue is actually malt. And it is in the human body, it's located within the lining of respiratory, digestive, and genitourinary tract. All right, it is present everywhere. Therefore, it is covering a large area, large tissue. These are collectively called malt, where there are several types of malt. Two major malt include the Balt and Galt. So what is Balt? Balt is bronchial associated your lungs. Okay, so this respiratory system is majorly called Balt, and the intestine or the gut associated lymphoid tissue is actually called Galt. Two are major ones, but there are others also. So I will tell you others also. For example, Pierce patches, for example, tonsils, adenoids, and all. All right. This galt include tonsil, adenoids, and specialized regions in the small intestine that are called Pierce patches. So what are Pierce patches? Pierce patches are kind of malt which is present in small intestine. If you do not understand this Pierce patches, I will lead you to the diagram. All right, so see this diagram carefully. It is showing not only Pierce patches. So the Pierce patches are in the intestine. There are some regions where it is having protective roles. It will mount the immune responses. So it is called Pierce patches, like in the form of patches over intestine. And others are tonsils. So tonsils are here, for example, adenoids is present here. So these all are included in secondary lymphoid organs. So the mucous membrane lining the digestive, respiratory and urogenital system. So जितने भी tract हैं हमारी body के, they are lined by the mucous membranes and therefore have a combined surface area of about 400 meters square. Right. So ये इतना area हो जाता है, nearly it is the size of a basketball court. Therefore, it was written it is a large lymphoid tissue and are the major site of entry of the most of the pathogen. क्योंकि ये जितने भी ट्रैक हैं हमारे, एक रेस्पिरेटरी ट्रैक, यूरोजेनाइटल ट्रैक, okay, digestive tract, majority of pathogens are going to enter through these tracks only. These vulnerable membrane surfaces are defended by a group of organized lymphoid tissues mentioned earlier and known collectively known as MALT. Right, now we'll discuss the MALT. So first is the functional importance of MALT in the body's defense is attested by its large population of antibody producing plasma cells. Because it is a huge tissue, therefore it will harbor a large number of B cells which can differentiate into the plasma cells and therefore they can produce large number of antibody molecules. So antibodies will be secreted into the lumen of these tracts. Now the number of plasma cells can far exceed from all the plasma cells which are present in the spleen, lymph nodes and bone marrow combined. If you combine all the plasma cells or the B cells or lymphocytes, these MALT is actually having more number. So number of antibody molecules generated is proportionally larger. Now the tonsils are the first kind of organized structure which are coming under the MALT category. So there are three types. They are present in three locations. Lingual, okay, so which are present at the base of tongue. Palatine, which are present at the back side of the mouth, and pharyngeal, which is actually called adenoids, in the roof of nasopharynx. Okay, just behind our nose. So see this. These are called palatine tonsils, which are present actually on the two sides of our digestive tract जहाँ से शुरू होता है. Okay, so these are called palatine, and there is one is present below the tongue, so this is called lingual tonsils. Then other type is pharyngeal or nasopharyngeal tonsils, which is actually called adenoids, which is present just behind the neck region, right? Situated here. Now, what is organization? Organization wise, if you take a cross section of the lingual tonsil, it is showing the region which are rich in the primary and secondary follicles. So actually these are having different types of cells which are required to mount an immune response. For example, B cells, T cells, macrophages and dendritic cells, they are all present in these follicles. All right. Similarly, in case of palatine tonsil, these follicles can be seen, which are made up of different types of cells. Now, What is Pierce patches and how they are organized? So as I told you, Pierce patches are patch-like structures which are present over our digestive tract. So the digestive tract or intestine, it is having Pierce patches. So these are called Pierce patches. So the names are written: muscle layer, there is germinal center. So obviously it is secondary follicle, submucosa, lamina propria region. And this is the lumen of our digestive system. So whatever we eat will be absorbed by these cells, right? These are having small microvilli like structure which will help in the digestion. But if you go into the deep crypt like structure in the deep pocket, we are having very specialized cells which are called M cells, because these cells are present in the mucous membrane. All right. So these cells are different. If you see this cell and this cell, there is a difference. It is having this pocket-like structure, this U-shaped structure, right? So therefore, these different cells are called M cells. M cells are having very important role. They will help in transporting the antigen. Suppose we eat some antigen into our food or we drink in water. What will happen? The antigen will move through these M cells into the lamina propria region, which is present behind this mucous membrane. Now, this lamina propria region is having these follicles, which are very scattered and having low number of cells, but actually it can mount an immune response. But if antigen move out of this lamina propria into the submucosa membrane, submucosa is also having different types of follicles, and it can mount an active immune response against any antigen which was in the food or which was in the water. All right. So therefore, we are having this kind of defense system also. So if we, by accident, eat some pathogens in our food or in water, they can be entrapped and killed. So these layer of cells, epithelial layer of cells, therefore, contain so-called intraepithelial lymphocytes. What are intraepithelial lymphocytes? Actually, this is epithelial layer, right, or the mucous membrane. This epithelial or epidermis is having some specialized cells which are not the normal T cells, which are alpha beta receptor or the T cell receptor containing T cells. They are actually having different types of receptors which are called gamma delta receptors. So many of these lymphocytes are T cells that express unusual receptors. Actually, they are not having alpha beta receptors, they are having gamma delta T cell receptors or TCRs. Therefore, they are different, which exhibit limited diversity for antigen. Actually, the alpha beta T cells are major T cells which are present in our body and mount an immune response. These gamma delta T cells are also there, but they are exhibiting or showing limited diversity, right? The receptors are able to recognize very few population of antigens or antigenic epitopes. Although their population of the T cells is well situated to encounter the antigen that enter through the intestinal mucosal epithelium. So this is the epithelial layer. If some antigen is coming through this epithelium, these cells are going to interact or going to target that particular. So first understand these M cells. As I told you, if we ate or some antigen in our food or in water, we drink it. This antigen in our digestive system, in our intestine, it will come through these M cell into this pocket-like region, right? So this pocket is having other cell types also. For example, macrophages, T cells, B cells. So B T cells and along with the antigen presenting cells, they're present in this pocket. So antigen which is coming from this lumen, it will be entrapped and transported by the M cell into this pocket where other cell types of immune system are present. One more thing, actually, we have discussed is IELs. What are IELs? Intraepithelial lymphocytes. So gamma delta T cells. All right. So we are having normal cells, which are called mucosal epithelial cells, helping in the digestion process. We are having M cells. So the M cells are helping in the transport of these antigens across the epithelial membrane. Then we are having these blue cells, which are shown here. These are called intraepithelial lymphocytes. So these are gamma delta T cells, which are helping. Uh, they can bind with these antigens, which is if it will try to come through this barrier. All right, this epithelial membrane is a kind of barrier. If the antigen is trying to cross this barrier, these cells are present, so they will entrap, they will bind with this antigen. But the M cell are specialized, which are helping in the transport of antigen across the epithelial membrane or mucosal epithelium. Finally, in the lamina propria region, which is present or situated in the submucosa, there are organized lymphoid follicles, which are primary follicles, right? But if antigen will come, it will help this follicle in becoming the secondary follicle with the germinal center. So these cells will move and they will become the plasma cells, which will secrete large number of secretory antibodies, which are actually IgA class of antibodies. So our digestive tract continue to secrete secretory IgA antibodies, which are helping in neutralization of several pathogens which can come through the digestive system. Now the question is, what kind of pathogens can come through the digestive tract which can infect us? So the different species of bacteria, for example, Salmonella species, Vibrio cholerae bacteria, or the poliovirus, even the poliovirus, it can infect us through the digestive system. So therefore, we need a kind of defense mechanism in our intestine so that these pathogens which are going to infect us through our digestive tract can be neutralized. Therefore, we have these Beer's patches and all the things. Right? So that was it. In the different organisms, the different, according to the complexity, the different types of systems are present. Actually, the gut associated lymphoid tissue is present in all the species, starting from the lamprey, right, and in the vertebrates. But some are very specialized structure, for example, lymph nodes and germinal centers, which are actually present only in higher animals, in vertebrates. All right. Frogs do not have, fishes do not have, and lamprey do not have lymph node or germinal centers, right? These primary and secondary lymphoid follicles, lymphoid. Spleen is present in most of the animals, and the bone marrow is actually present in the frog, but it is not present in the fishes. So this line is the colored line, the barred line is showing in which organisms actually these uh, immune system or the immune lymphoid organs or lymphoid tissues are present. All right. And this is the evolutionary tree, which is actually showing that aves and mammals are having lymph nodes and germinal centers and secondary lymphoid follicles. Whereas the anura and the amphibians are giving rise to anura, they may have bone marrow. Up to anura, they are having bone marrow. And teleosti, they may have thymus and spleen. Right, the spleen is present in large number of animals, but this gut associated lymphoid tissue is present in all the animals. in all the vertebrates and invertebrates. So the galt is the basic lymphoid tissue or organ which is required by all the species. So today we have covered the secondary lymphoid organs. We have covered the spleen and malt. We also have discussed a little bit of gut associated lymphoid tissue, which is called Pierce patches. All right. So, and we have seen how these M cells are helping in transport of antigens, right? So these M cells are very specialized cells. Now, if you see the differences, these M cells do not have these microvilli. They are very rudimentary or almost absent from the M cell. But these M cells are having these pocket-like structures, and they are helping in the transport of antigen from our digestive tract or in the from the lumen into the submucosal region or in the lamina propria region, where it will face different types of B and T cells. The B cell will differentiate into the plasma cells and they will secrete large number of IgA class antibodies, which are secretory antibodies, and therefore if more number of antigens are present in the lumen, these antibodies will neutralize those all antigens. All right. So that's how our immune system is very efficient in neutralizing, in removing, in killing all the pathogens by all means. One more thing, actually, I want to tell you, these are called tonsils, and if there is an infection or inflammation in the tonsil, the disease is known as itis. Itis is a common term for inflammation, all right? So, what can happen? Sorry, actually, that was not here. All right, so first of all, I will show you one. So in some cases, all right. So in the oral cavity, these are tonsils. The normal tonsils are not very pronounced, but if there is some inflammation or some infection in the tonsil, they are more swollen, right? The whitish spots can be seen over these swollen tonsils are indicating that an infection, right? Which is also shown in other diagrams also. So this swelling is swollen tonsils can cause severe discomfort. All right. So all the three families or all the three categories of tonsils, which are lingual tonsils, palatine tonsils, and nasopharyngeal tonsils, which are actually called adenoids, are discussed in the text. All right. If you have a query, you can please ask.